Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Hopefully you guys are all having a wonderful week and we're creeping right up into the weekend. So it's going to be nice to get a little break and get some sleep. But we've got some good setups in the works and some nice things to talk about and mention. So let's get right to it. First of all, we have a little bit of a flat kind of looking day and everything. Oil's down a bit. You can see that gold has kind of been a little flat as well. It looks like the Dow is going to close just barely in the positive. S&P is going to probably close in the negative. It's just been one of those days where the markets have been chopping around and not really picking any particular direction. We've seen a few announcements today. We had retail sales for the UK that came out a little bit better than expected. We saw a little bit of a rally in some of those pound pairs, but we still made some money last night on pound shorts. So what do you go figure? Coming into tomorrow, we have a couple of reports. We have a little bit of news out of the UK public sector net borrowing and core CPI out of Canada, and this is actually a pretty decent mover. All those CPI reports are pretty worth watching, so have a look at that. Here are a few interesting things. I'm only going to talk about a few pairs today, and by a few I mean like five, but we may narrow it down to kind of the top three most interesting. The euro dollar is very interesting, actually. There was one thing that I really kind of never do, and that is to look at some of the larger time frames, like the weekly chart. I never look at the weekly chart, actually, very rarely, anyways. And here is something that I found kind of interesting. I'm actually going to get rid of that. We'll come back to that really quick. On this weekly chart, something that I find interesting here is the fact that we have a pretty recognized channel right here of the euro dollar. So most of last year anyways, most of 2011 and most of this year have really been nicely in the, well, I guess all of this year have really been bouncing around nicely in that channel. So one thing that I did is I just went from the high to the low, this most recent large range right here, and we've seen a couple of things. So with our fib level right here, we see a few things have happened. This euro dollar has run up to the 38% fib, which was around 131.50-ish area, and I think our high was about 131. Let's just look at that candle. It was about 131.68 it looks like. So 131.40.50 was our 38% fib, which it came up to, which also happens to be the top of this channel. It bounced off that very nicely. And then we also happen to, maybe this is just my broker, maybe not, I don't know, but there was a little gap there that had to be filled. So a bunch of interesting things happened on this euro dollar, and it's been turning ever since. So it's found this nice little top of the channel, top of a fib level, and it started to come down. Now, I know that we have more Fed involvement, more QE, more dollar weakness is likely to come, but technically speaking, this looks like we are likely to see some continued sell-off on this euro dollar. Now, we look at it on the 4-hour chart, and we've seen a pretty nice breakout here. We broke out and bounced up and just, have been kind of continuing down since. Here's something that I'm looking at. This is just about 130. 130, and you can see that pretty tough little level there, little tough level there, another good bounce point, and then we made a nice break for it. So now we've got 130 in place here, and the fib level that I had was this guy right here. And so this little fib level is a couple of interesting points. First of all, we have the 38% fib up here at about 130.15. We've got 130 as an interesting level with probably some pretty decent resistance. So what I like right now as kind of a low-ish risk trade is a short at 130. So I'd like to sell right here and just have my stops above that 38% fib, which is around 130.15. So maybe some stops at about 130.20, and just a short right here and trade it on back on down to these lows. That's kind of scenario one. That's going to be my entry, short at 130. Now, the next thing I'm looking at here potentially is we've looked at this as well, which is we've seen just kind of an interesting run. If we go to the daily chart and go to the recent low to high of the last couple of weeks. Let me find my fib. There we go. And if we go to that low to high here, we see another couple of things in the works. We see that this has been running up pretty nicely up this area, and things are finally kind of slowing and calming down here a little bit. and it started to break this trend line, and we're at the top of a little short-term channel, and the bottom of the channel is down here a little ways. But remember, we have a couple of things that happen in kind of an interesting way, and that is when we get down and through the 23% fib, which we came down and just about touched that 23% fib. We got right there, and then it just couldn't quite get much lower. And so if we get an open below this 23% fib, we've got a very, very good chance to make it into that 38% fib, which is around 127.50. So what I'm actually wanting to do here is short the euro dollar with tight stops, again about 20 pip stops, short it at 130, stops above 130, or excuse me, at about 130.20, and then take it potentially back down to that 23% fib, which is around 129.00, so a 100 pip run initially, and then hold on to it through 129.00 into 127.50. Long explanation. I think that's going to be an interesting thing to do. Now, if we do get a break above 130 and above that 50% or that 38% fib, which is 130.15 or so, then I think we may have an interesting buy opportunity there. So that'll be something to look at. Pound dollar, quickly, let's look at this pound dollar channel. This thing is running up here nicely. Big double top up here, just around 162.50, 60. Nice breakout, came down. It's doing all this stuff. We made a few bucks on the break of 162.00 last night. This pair is still holding pretty bullish on the daily charts and on daily RSI and so on. It's just not turning. It's not getting below 70. So it may, and if that is the case, then I'm going to probably be looking for some shorts here around 162.50 on the pound dollar. And likewise, if it doesn't get any higher and gets back below 162.00, then I think that'll be a good short as well. Here's another little situation I'm looking at right here, and this is the same kind of scenario here on the euro yen as on the euro dollar. Having a hard time with this support right here, understandably. This is a pretty strong level. You can see that we've got about 101.25, and the euro yen came down and tried to get below that, gave us a little reversal candle right here, and it's coming back on up. One thing that I'm watching for is I'm going to be watching for a possible opportunity to, since on this daily chart, remember what we've talked about, which is if we get below the 23% fib, we have a very, very, very high likelihood of reaching the 38% fib. And so that's, so right here about 101.60, 50, 60, but specifically about 101.60 is where the 23% fib is. We've already gotten below it, and now we're trying to get back up above that. And so if we can stay below that, I like a short around 101.50, 60 to take it back down into that 38% fib, which is around 101.00 area, 101.50. So that's what I'm looking for. Again, if it breaks above that, above about 101.60, then this could be headed back up into that 102.50. So this is going to be a good break point, 101.50, 101.60. So keep an eye on that. Aussie dollar is getting pretty choppy, not interested in doing too much there. And then last but not least, the dollar CAD, 97.60 is an important level. Nice trend line break. Good support right there. If this bounces off this level, then we could see some further downside. But you can see that we've got some pretty nice attempts at these higher levels, unable to reach them, and now we're just trying to break this level. So if we get below, I'd like to see an open below 97.60, and I will short that into about 97.25. So that's what I'm looking for. We have some great setups. It's been a tough week. The U.S. sessions have been very choppy, and the U.K. sessions have been the nice ones this week. But it's definitely been a challenging week, but I think we still have some great setups to come. So best of luck, guys. We'll see you in the chat, and more details on Twitter to come.